Y'all, today I'm going to show you one of my absolute favorite desserts that I have ever had. It's creme brulee, or as we like to say around here, creme brulee, because we ain't got a fancy accent like that. If you've never heard of creme brulee, if you go to a fancy steakhouse and you look down that dessert menu and see that one that's like $48 because of all these fancy techniques and they're bringing fire to the table and torching it up in the whole 9 yards, that's the creme brulee. But what about today? If I show you how to make it without fancy water baths, weighing out all the ingredients, I'm still going to use the torch, but I'll show you an easy way to make it so you can enjoy this delicious dessert without having to jump through all the hoops. Stick around. So the first thing I'm going to do for this creme brulee is preheat my oven to 300 degrees. And I know that's a weird temperature, and we can do it the hard way if you want to. I can get the water baths out and we'll do all the things, but I'd just rather make it quick and easy. I hope you do too. So now that I got my oven preheated, I'm just going to separate 4 eggs. And I know anytime I do anything with more than 1 egg, I always get comments down there. Oh, you use so many eggs. What do you people eat? I mean, a dozen eggs is $5 at the highest. You can get 3 good meals out of that. Go to McDonald's and tell me what you get for $5, and then you'll be hungry 2 hours later. Anyway, just be lucky it's not a dozen like my bread recipe. And if you feel like you have to let me know that I use too many eggs, I've left room down there for you in the comments, so just go ahead and let me know. Anyway, I'm just gonna separate out these 4 yolks because that's all we're gonna use. So I'm gonna save the whites down the bottom of this container. And I'll put those in my little microwave egg cooker in a little bit for Buddy to eat. Now just put them right here in this little container. And I want you to see the color of these egg yolks. I get these things at the Aldi, but now if you've got a local person to you, they're gonna come out the same way. Let me show you how good these look. This is when you know you got a good nutrient dense egg right there. When those come out looking like that color, oh man, I'm telling you, you got something right there. This is gonna make a delicious creme brulee. So now we got all 4 of those. Pop all these egg whites right in the fridge so we can cook them later for Buddy. So now all I'm gonna do is take those 4 beautiful egg yolks that we have and put them in, of course, a yellow mixing bowl, my number 1. And I ain't wasting those, don't worry. And you know, if you don't have a yellow bowl, it's okay. It just ain't gonna taste as good. But I have heard that the thrift stores nationwide have a yellow bowl shortage, so y'all must be getting those things and picking them up while you still can. So anyway, I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna take 1/3 cup. This is my sweetener blend, or you can use Magic Baker's blend if you buy your own. I'll leave the link to my video up there on how to make it yourself for about 1/3 of the price that you can buy the Magic Baker's for in the store. I'm just gonna whisk this together. I'm gonna get it all well combined. And it's gonna get a little bit lighter in color than that beautiful, beautiful orange. And you know, creme brulee means in French, scorched cream. But I'm gonna do my best to not scorch it today. And I'm gonna keep beating this up until it gets about the color of this bowl. And when it does, we're gonna get some heavy cream. Throw that right in the mix. It's looking pretty close, pretty matchy. And you know, that's another use for that yellow bowl. If you're making creme brulee, you can say when it matches the bowl, it's time for the cold. Cream, that is. Heavy cream. Here we go. Now what I'm gonna do, in like a medium-sized saucepan, I'm gonna get my heavy cream. Now it's cold right out of the fridge. And I'm putting 2 cups right in here. I know, 2 cups of cream, 4 eggs. What are we to do? We're gonna have a nice dessert that's easy to make that doesn't cost 50 bucks. How about that? So we're just gonna heat this up real slow. You do not want this to boil. You just want it to steam a little bit. And once it's steaming a little, I'll show you what to do next. Now once that cream starts to steam, hey, I'm a poet and didn't even know it. I'm gonna turn my heat off. Then I'm gonna add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla, beaver free, of course, and a little pinch of Redmond's real salt. I'm just gonna mix this up a little bit. And I'm gonna start spinning this around. But what I'm gonna do is just add a tiny bit of this in as you're stirring this. Now this is the same thing you do with ice cream. This is called tempering it, because you don't want any scrambled egg ice cream and you don't want any scrambled egg creme brulee. So you're just adding a little bit of that hot into that cold to kind of cook it without scrambling it. Then you just go in with a little more. You just want to make sure you don't let this boil. It's a little warm. Go in just like that. You can slowly start drizzling it in. And once you get to the point where about half of that liquid's in, you just go ahead and add all the rest in. We'll be about ready to make some creme brulee. So I'll start going a little bit more here. And I think we're good now. I'll just go ahead and pour all the rest in. Just keep whisking it. Just like that. And now if you do mess up a little bit and you scramble some eggs, that's fine. Just get you a nice strainer. You can strain this through that and get out the little egg bits before you put it in the containers to go in the oven. It's no problem. Don't worry about it. We got this under control. Now the hard part's done. This is the easy part. So I'll just get these little silicone cups like this. This is what I use to make the Big Mac buns. If you've seen my Big Mac video, you may already have these if you've made that before. They're great for making burger buns and things like that. It's the perfect size. And if you put them over your ears like this, you can hear the ocean. Hey, don't knock it till you try it. It's just like a shell. Anyway, I've just got these down on a cookie sheet. I got some parchment paper on top. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. And then I'm just going to use my flare saw. If you didn't see my short, I'll link this thing down below. It's awesome. And you don't have to worry about all the junk they put in the cooking sprays. So I'm just going to use this. And of course, you can use butter, tallow, whatever you want to. I just like to make sure the sides are nice and greased down too. I'm just spreading it with a paper towel. That flare saw works really good for pans and stuff, but little tiny things like this, you really need to spread it around. At least you don't have a cloud of oil going all over your kitchen like you do with the cooking sprays. So anyway, the easy part. I'm just gonna take a ladle full at a time of this and put it in each one of these little silicone ramekins, if you will. Now, if you saw what I had the eggs in earlier, that was also actually a creme brulee container from Aldi. Aldi had some creme brulees at one time, and those were the little containers that they came in, and I've just kept them all these years. And somebody told me that Target had the same thing, and it's the same container. So anyway, just get these about as even as you can. He's gonna make some big, nice creme brulees, I'm just telling you. And it's gonna make 4 of this size, but if you got smaller containers, you wanna use something different, you might make more. And this is what they'll look like when they're making their nice little trip to the oven. They're gonna stay in here for 30 to 40 minutes. We'll check on them then. Buddy, you want this treat? All right, drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. Carnivore dog. I gotta have my desserts. All right, so my timer just went off. It's time to grab these out of the oven. Now let me show you what these look like. What you want here is for these to be solid around the edges, but still kind of jiggly in the middle. So see that, how that's kind of set up around the edge? Right there. The middle still jiggles. You don't want it to jiggle quite that much, so I'm gonna put it back in the oven for about 10 more minutes, and it should be absolutely perfect. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. So after 10 more minutes, these are absolutely perfect. See how it jiggles a little bit all the way through? You gotta leave these on the counter for 30 minutes until they cool, and then I'll show you what we're gonna do next. Now you ain't gonna like this any more than I do, but next you gotta put them in the fridge and they gotta sit there for 2 hours at least, or even overnight. And then, however long you wanna put them in there for, I'll show you how to make that crunchy topping for it. Now there's a couple easier ways to do this. First of all, you could cook them right in these ramekins like this, right in the oven as well. That way when you get ready to plate this up, you don't have to go through all these steps I'm gonna show you. I was just trying to make it pretty for the video. So I'm just gonna take one of those like that. I'm gonna go all the way around the outside edge just to make sure this releases proper. You can also cook it inside some of these if you got some of these on hand. I'm just gonna plop it out. And then I'm just gonna take a little bit of my sweetener blend, put it right over the top. Now I think this is a bad idea. I'm gonna put it inside this. Well, I was trying to make it real pretty for you, but that's just not gonna work with this because I wasn't thinking the sweetener is just gonna fall right off once I torch it. So what I'm gonna do is just sprinkle the top with a little bit of that same sweetener and just coat the whole thing all over. You probably want somewhere between a teaspoon, maybe 2 teaspoons of this. We'll get out our handy dandy little torch and go to town. And what I want to do is just make a nice little crust on top of this. So just hit it in little areas like that. Get that nice and melty. This will make a nice little crust. Now what that's going to allow this to do is crystallize once I put it back in the fridge. So I'll put it back in the fridge for about a half hour. Then when we pull it out, it should have a nice little crystallized crust on the top, and we'll see what it looks like. So after 30 minutes in the fridge, this is what it looks like. And you can get it a little more brown if you want to. I just didn't want to risk burning this. You could also use some of my brown sweetener if you want, but the reason this gets a little crunch on top is because the erythritol crystallizes once it gets cold again. That's why I just use allulose in my ice cream, because it doesn't crystallize like that. And you can totally leave that step out with the whole sweetener and torch thing. I was just trying to make it a little bit fancy. But I'm gonna tell you, either way, it's gonna be delicious. I don't know if you can hear that or not. Oh man, there's a piece of it right there. Let me just taste this. Hang on, let me show you this first. If you can see that little crust right there, that's what happens on the top. Just let me show you this. Oh man. Y'all, I'm gonna tell you what, I'm gonna need a minute with this. But this is amazing. So nice and creamy. Goes perfect with a steak, and it ain't gonna cost you 50 bucks. And if you want another quick and easy dessert that's not gonna cost you 50 bucks, make sure you watch this video right here.